we've reached the end of another era here on Year of the Mecha, the PSP era.
All 3 months of it.
Technically 2.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels a bit longer than that, I guess. I don't know. Mostly because of just how, the span of from October to November was basically the entirety of a console generation. Whereas the generation before it took us, I think, 2 or 3 times that length of time.
Plus, October, November, December feels like an entire year by itself, so...
Yep. I mean that's winter for you.
Hate it.
I love it, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
We're playing Battle Robot Damashii. The final
Artdink... hang out with me. Your opinions are a suspect to begin with.
Oh, they're only going to get worse from here, my friend.
Oh, I know. We've spoken.
So let's talk about let's talk about Star Fox Zero, the furry mecha game. No, that's a joke that'll be elaborated. That'll be elaborated on for another time, not now. We're playing a different game. We're playing Battle Robot Damashii, the final Artdink mecha game for the PSP.
I feel like I should be saluting in honor here.
I mean, Artdink has made great mecha games. Like they had a really good engine and set of mechanics that started with Gundam, and they just kept rolling with it for all the time that they could spend on the PSP before it was no longer a viable platform.
I mean, they clung on to the PSP longer than most other companies ever did. So,
especially because they had a leg up on others where they actually understood how to take advantage of the platform and what made it good.
Also, I noticed bones in the opening there. I'm guessing we've got fully animated intros.
No, that's just for the series represented.
Okay.
So, how
Code Geass.
Yeah, so how I've talked about Another Century's episode. Like the real-time Super Robot Wars equivalent that was like one of FromSoft's great mecha series from the past. Well, this game, you could see, from a first glance being like, okay, this is Artdink's attempt at that type of big crossover mecha action game with its own different types of series that, maybe wouldn't be a fit for something like Ace or Super Robot Wars.
Well, I mean, they've got that one show, was it Hero Man, that Stan Lee worked on? Which I have never seen referenced anywhere except outside of, did you know that Stan Lee did a mecha series?
Yeah, that he came up with with an idea for a mecha anime that Studio Bones made into reality and gave him a bunch of cameos in each episode. But the nature of this game, as you'll find, is actually it's a bit more weird than that, in all honesty, because it's not a crossover in the traditional sense. You're not gonna get something like a Super Robot Wars or Ace where there's
Edian? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, where there's plot reasons for why all these robots have come together. We need to basically give context to what is being shown on this final shot. What looked like, it's a toy in a package. This is a tie-in to a real-life robot figurine line that started in the late 2000s called Robot Damashii, or the Robot Spirits.
I thought it was, but, I didn't want to, make any assumptions.
Yeah, it's literally the... Yeah, pretty much. It's like that. The joke that could be made is that this game is just an advertisement for. It's a toy commercial. Kind of the same thing we've said about how Saturday morning cartoons of the '80s were literally that for different toys that companies wanted to sell to kids. And because of that, as you'll find. That explains not only the very eclectic selection of mecha being represented, as well, to the point where some of them are ones where they can only be represented here because they can get around the fact that story-wise, it would be very hard to justify how like some of these mecha could exist in the same continuity.
I mean, Hero Man, Code Geass, Idion, Eureka 7, like...
Star Driver.
I'm pretty sure, did I see Full Metal Panic in there as well?
Yes, there is.
Yeah, like, this isn't just, like, worlds colliding, this is like the equivalent of dropping a Lego set and trying to rebuild it with different mecha shows.
And also special guest, Armored Core 5.
Oh.
Which was the biggest whiplash I had when I saw that they put the starter AC in this game.
That is a chunky boy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. All the ACs in 5th gen are chunky boys. You know, they're only 5 meters tall, like half the size of what ACs usually are. So, like, but it definitely gives them a similar yet different vibe to it. But yeah, like these are like the series.
I would have said that was Front Mission.
Yeah, it definitely has a bit of Wanzer to it, absolutely. Yeah. But as far as series in there, we've got. I'll try to see if I remember best off the top of my head because there are some real deep cuts, stuff that I definitely have never heard of until this game. But like Armored Core 5, obviously, you have Eureka 7.
Mm-hmm.
And which it's kind of like weirdly separated into multiple categories in this case. I think it might be to highlight that these might be like versions from like the movie that came after.
Yeah, I was going to say, at this point, it would have only been the anime, the manga, and the movie.
Yeah, I don't think, because AO definitely was not out by this point.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we got Code Geass, both first season and R2. Yep. And then, like, this one that's still, like, Code Geass related, but it's, like, from, like, maybe, like, a spin-off manga or something. I don't even fucking remember.
Yeah, I only really ever paid attention to the main series. I need to watch the sequel movies at some point.
Yeah. We got Elgime.
Oh, wow.
Star Driver, which is another Studio Bones mecha anime. And actually, one of my personal favorites. I've talked about it here and there. It is the show where it's like basically before everyone made like the realization that the witch from Mercury was just Utena Mecha. But I was like, but have you heard of Star Driver, a mecha anime that was also written by people that worked on Revolutionary Girl Utena?
Lesbian robots of the future.
Well, it's less lesbians in here and more like the fucking main character self-proclaims himself as the Galactic Pretty Boy. Like, that says everything about the kind of campiness that this show has, and I love it.
So, okay, so maybe not too far removed from Code Geass, then.
Yeah, but I imagine it's probably, like, it deserves more recognition than Code Geass, but that's neither here nor there. we got Aura Battler Dundee, Zega Brain or whatever it is. This is one of those where it's like I definitely do not recognize where the fuck this one is from, but we do have Zabungle, the wacky robot show that more people
refuses to die.
It's the wacky Looney Tunes mecha show that people deserve to know about.
Yeah, and I should point out when I say it refuses to die, I do not mean that in a bad way. Like, that show clings on to life like a cockroach, and I salute it.
Yep. Then, Fafnir.
Mm-hmm. Show that I know I should love, but I just cannot get past the fucking hideous art style. We've spoken about this before.
Same character designer that worked on Gundam Seed.
And Scried, which threw me for a loop.
Yeah. And of course, as we noticed, the Space Runaway Idion, which is definitely insane. This is an original mecha. This is not related to any series because it's one of the very late game stuff that you unlock. As you might surmise, looking through this, yes, I have played this enough that I've unlocked every single unit that the game has.
I figured it was either that or you downloaded another save.
Yeah, well, no, that's the thing. There is no save I could have downloaded. I had to play all this.
Oh, boy.
Hero Man, as we mentioned. I've only watched a few episodes of it, and I keep meaning to get back to it because it is like interesting, since it is just it is an anime that is so explicitly set in America with, like, you know, non-Japanese characters.
They actually eat donuts in that one.
Yeah, it's like Bones is such a fascinating studio as far as, like, mecha anime output, because you can look at other, like, studios that, like, the kind of stuff that they're known for working on, like Sunrise, for instance, is the big one. You know, they're Gundam, and that's pretty much it. I mean, like, they've obviously done other pivotal series from, like, the 80s and 90s, like Botoms and the Brave series, but Gundam's their main thing. Bones, meanwhile, has always been, like, that, like, they are the go-to studio if you want to see what mecha can be like when it's at its most creative and esoteric in concepts.
They're one of those companies that they just basically seem to do whatever they think is interesting at that moment.
Yeah, sometimes it works, sometimes it does. Like ARX 7, the original, definitely works. Like, arguably, like, I think still their best. And then, of course, we got Full Metal Panic, pulled straight from the second raid. But also, I'd be remiss if Full Metal Panic representation did not have Bonta-kun.
I was going to say, if they don't have Bonta-kun in this, we riot at dawn.
Yep. And then, of course, we got Macross Frontier, because this was still the late 2000s, early 2010s. Frontier popularity was still in full swing. But we also have, on top of that, something that, again, like, ties back into the weirdness of this game basically being like a toy commercial for the for the Robot Spirits line, is that there were basically, I think by this point, they essentially had two versions of, like, all the different figures, because the idea with them being based on figures is that they're all made to the same scale. You know, it's not like Another Century's episode where you could have super tiny units next to absurdly huge units like Shin-Getter Robo, and it would be, like, accurate in terms of proportions. Here it's more like the models are made to be pretty much the exact same scale, so they could all fit in the same packaging, except when you got to the DX line, in which they are much bigger in size. You know, like, they're closer to, like, you know, like DX Chogokin, if you've kind of heard of that. It's kind of premium toy line, you know, die-cast metal, all kinds of super expensive material that makes it cost hundreds of dollars. And as a result, in-game, so when you see these in-game, they are also significantly larger in size than the regular counterparts. Yeah. And then another series that I completely forget, like, the name of and, like, what it is.
Yeah, they look familiar, like the sort of weird high heels that they've got.
Yeah,
but I cannot remember what they're from.
But yeah, that's what the roster is like. It's a very interesting one, to say the least. And even and like when we get into the missions themselves, like, it's also a fairly bizarre but unique take on kind of like a mission structure that than what you would expect, because, you know, we showed off Gundam Battle Universe, Macross Triangle Frontier. We all know that is a very traditional mission-based structure, where you have, like, a menu with a long list of missions that are all super short form. You go in, play the mission, come out of it with rewards, and then do it all again.
Yep.
But here, it's less about that. It's more like, whoops, again, forgot that X is cancel instead of circle. Instead, you basically have, like, these different issues. You have these different sections with what are basically mission boards. It's like a board setup where all the individual missions are designed that you have to take them all sequentially in an order. So we'll go with 3-star, because, I mean, I have some pretty powerful units. I can get through it if I want. Like, because going into it, you have to first select which robots you want to bring with you. You can equip up to 10. The order is important, because whatever's in slot 1 will be the first one you have, and then as you change them out, they will all cycle through down to the bottom.
Okay, so when you're cycling them out, is that to give them a chance to recover, or is it just, okay, you're done, I'm moving on to this one now?
Yeah, it's basically just to move on to the next one. The idea is that, like, because, like, if you keep switching to the last unit in the list, you can't cycle back to the first one until you complete the mission.
Right, okay. So it's more like a live system with bonuses.
Basically, there's all kinds of, like, interesting, like, applications to it as well.
Mm-hmm.
But here's an example of, like, kind of like these boards and how they look. Obviously, I chose the levels, the 3-star version to kind of show how more complicated it gets. Not to mention that if I just went into level 1, it would be super boring, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's very short and everything would die in one hit.
Complete curb stomping and everything.
Yeah. So, with something like this, for instance, like, not every board is arranged the same way, but for this first one, you know, like, it's essentially you have, like multiple forks in the road, as it were, and you can choose which of these tiles you want to go to. It'll show you, like, what enemies you go up against, which are, like, the robot icons on the right. Bottom left has, like, mission objectives, which kind of, like, if you translate them, it can, like, kind of more easily explain what it is. I mean, like, I'm familiar enough with these that I know what some of they are, like, get a 50-hit combo, successfully guard 10 times, change robots 4 times in the same mission, and for each of those objectives you complete, you get the specified reward, which is either gold, hence the G, or TP, which is tune points, you know, your upgrade currency.
Okay. Straightforward enough.
Yeah. So we'll go with, like, the... Yeah. And also, even before you started, you can, if you want, you know, swap the order around if necessary. So you're not completely locked into the order once you start the particular mission board, as it were. But you are locked into the specific units that you bring in at the start. So gotta make sure that they're sufficiently upgraded and have everything they need. Because there are also, some of these missions can have, like, restrictions on them. Like, there'll be some where you can't use melee, or you can't use ranged attacks, or even stuff where it's like, you know, suddenly your evasive maneuvers are way faster and more potent than they were before. And other times it might be like offensive power is jacked up super high, so everything's glass cannon. Be careful.
Oof.
Yeah. Starting with the Koenig monster.
Okay, so the intro made it look like it was kind of virtual on, almost.
Yeah.
And yeah, that definite virtual on vibes from it so far.
Yeah, it's like...
It's slower paced, but...
Yeah, it's the sort of thing where, you know, we, like... if you're familiar with their Gundam games or Macross, everything about how this engine plays is right at home. As you can see as well, this is also one of those missions where the stipulation is you cannot use melee, hence why my melee icon on triangle was grayed out. But I do have unlimited ammunition for no reloads. So it's still abiding by a lot of the same core concepts that the other games had basically operated on. You know, so it's like the same core boosting system, not to mention the special attacks when you just press triangle and circle at the same time. There's a lot more simplicity to how this is set up compared to Gundam and Macross, probably because they realized that this has to be more of a universal gameplay system rather than a system that highlights specifically what makes it Gundam or Macross, you know? Because Macross is, especially Triangle Frontier, when we showed that, like, that control mapping was super dense in the shit that allowed you to do. Yeah, so you complete the mission. Didn't really get any rewards from that time just because I didn't change enough times or I didn't get a high enough combo, but it is what it is. This one's at least a lot more straightforward, as you can see, because it's, you know, 2, 3, 5, like, that's clearly time limit. Beat it in 2 minutes and you get the most rewards. And even, and stuff with the shoulder buttons, like lock-on and guard are still the same, you know? But, obviously...
melee attacks in this one.
Yeah, you still can't use them here, but at least, since we do have an entire lineup of mecha kind of in our team, we do have to be able to change at some point. So you press select, and then you switch over.
Oh wow, this guy's so much more swift.
Yeah, switch over to the AC. I also believe at this point, I think I also like, because I mentioned with like the DX versions of the Macross units, how they operated at a different size. I do believe as well that like from when I last used this save, I think I did leave some of these units, because there's an option you unlock that's like a post-game thing where you get to essentially swap sizes for all of your available units. So you can make non-DX units the same size as DX. And conversely, you can make the DX Chogokin Valkyries like normal size. Hence why this AC is much bigger than everything right here.
Yeah, that one should definitely be more to scale.
Yeah.
Especially compared to everything else around it. Well, there's that 50 combo that you should have gotten in the last stage.
Yeah. And there we go. Yeah, just look at all these big fucking robots. And there's one thing as well that's also important to note that ties back into the to the unit switching. Like as I switched every time, you might have noticed that there was like that icon next to all the meters that had a percentage rising. That is basically like a tension system that allows you to, you know, when it fills up enough, which it can fill up all the way to 300%, it basically allows you to combine both a unit switch and a super attack. So you could switch over to a unit that you're saving up for at the end of your unit order when you get to 300%, and if you're up against a really hard boss, you could use it to essentially have like a comeback mechanic that just deletes them.
Trump card.
Yep, pretty much. And the way that gauge increases is that when you switch over. Oh yeah, that's also the important thing to note as well, is that like as like you progress through like these mission boards, is that your health does not refill in between missions. Like the damage I've sustained to the Koenig monster has stayed the same throughout. However,
yeah, I noticed that.
But the thing is that when you keep losing, when you're not at full health and you switch over, the percentage of health that you are missing from that unit is converted into like your tension gauge percentage. So if you were down to like the last percent of health, for instance, you would basically gain like 99% to that tension gauge.
Okay.
So
there's a comeback mechanic built in.
Yes. And that can even play to strategy sometimes, where it's like, you could, in some cases, I've done this before actually, you could deliberately let your certain units be damaged to the point of like near death, and just cycle through switching them to get to the units where you know their attacks are the best, and you want to use like their super powerful version of their super attack, and then just do that.
Yeah, just going for a real death or glory.
Yeah, exactly. So in some cases, even if, like, it could be good to fill out your roster with units that maybe you don't have fully upgraded or you don't enjoy playing, because you can either use them as just a means to build up your tension gauge as fast as possible, as well as, you know, by the end of, like, the mission set, when you get all of your tuning points by the end, all of those will be applied to the units that you have in your party. So it's a good way to kind of grind things out for units, even if you don't necessarily want to play as them all the time.
And just use them as cannon fodder, essentially.
Yeah, it's like more than the kind of wild decision of this game to essentially do a crossover that's more rooted in a toy line than anything narrative focused. Like, this whole mission structure is actually really fascinating and cool, and highlights how I do wish a lot more mecha games could, like, adopt something that basically put this a bit more pressure on you, instead of just being like, here are all these isolated missions that you can challenge in any order whenever you like, and it's just, that kind of very simple, flat gameplay loop, as it were. This, meanwhile, it's a lot longer and more involved, but you at least get just that slight bit more of strategy to consider as far as how to get through it. Because when you do start out, like, these, going through these mission routes, they can be tough, because you're dealing with enemies that are much more powerful than the game is, like, allowing you to keep up with, because you kind of have to complete certain mission boards before you're able to unlock the next threshold for upgrading your units. There we go. That's the 50 combo at least taken care of. That said, though, obviously with how... Oh, what the hell? Oh, god damn it. And we're back. After a lengthy delay. Fucking router. Piece of shit.
We ain't dead yet.
Despite its best efforts.
Although you're not streaming to me.
Wait, are you not? Oh, fucking... Oh, right. Okay, I think that's it. It's not quite the exact same full screen projection I usually show, but I mean, like, it's close to.
Yeah, good enough.
Yeah, we'll go with that. But yeah, this is God, what were we even talking about before shit just went sideways?
I don't know. I think it was the Prussian-Hungarian expansion into Western Europe. I might be wrong.
That's all our streams, though.
Yeah, no. Why change the habit of a lifetime? I mean, really.
Yeah, whatever. But no, I think I remember what I was thinking, because I think I had switched over to, like, controlling, like, the VF-25s that I got on this roster, and how it's like, obviously when it comes to the fact that this has to be more of a standard universal control system for these mecha, you can't really have things in it that are made to highlight the specific things that make those units unique. Because the way this game works, as far as, like, the attacks you have available, kind of has to do with, like, this, with this whole, like that pattern of, like, attack icons you see in the bottom right, is that those are fully customizable attack options. What it means is that you only have, like, a total of 3 attacks that you can equip your unit with that are, they're unit-specific, admittedly, like, like, all the sort of different attack options you could equip Bonta-kun with all have to do with, like, automatic weapons that it would reasonably be equipped with.
Yeah.
But you can't have more than 3, and in the case of, the Macross units, that does mean that some of those are not actually attacks sometimes. They can actually be transformations into the different modes. Mm-hmm. But you don't have access to, like, if you want to have access to all the transformation modes, you're basically locked out of having any actual, like, having a wide range of attacks to work with.
Yeah, you'd really just have, like, the gunpowder or the missiles, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one thing that I was saying. I don't know if you caught it before everything died, but it was about how because of the way everything is set up, everything has to have sort of like a unified control scheme. So you can have, like, your weird mechs that play slightly differently. Like, going back to Virtual on your Bass Balbo, which is a classic weird mech of the series.
Oh yeah.
But fundamentally everything kind of has to play the same. So even though things are from wildly different series, everything's still kind of unified in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, like in the grand scheme of Artdink's mecha games for this system, this is definitely like the simplest to come to grips with, because it's like you don't have to worry about the transformation stuff or like the specifics of missile combat like in Macross, nor do you have to deal with like the super high-risk nature of mobile suit combat when you play one of their Gundam games, because they definitely still abide by that idea where getting hit at any point really hurts. But you still feel when you play this, when you play this starting out on a new game, that there is like some pretty heavy limitations you have to deal with as far as how far you can upgrade your units, what options you have available, like, because it's all designed around getting you to understand you can't just rely on one robot. You need an entire team of them.
Yeah, if anything, like, the more I see of it, it's... Like, as I said, obviously at first it reminded me a lot of Virtual On for, really obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But the more I see of it, the more it actually reminds me of Dissidia.
Yeah.
The way that you've
for got, a lot of people, like, that's another PSP classic right there.
Yeah, like the way that you've got limited attacks, like in Dissidia, you can usually equip your character with, say, 4 to 8 different attacks, but not everything that your character can do. It's an arena. Obviously, Dissidia has a lot more focus on movement and transportation. Yeah, I would not be surprised if they looked at Dissidia and went, "Can we do this?"
Well, that was a bit of a waste. They got right in my blind spot. The thing is, I'm actually trying to remember what the problem I'm having right now is I'm trying to remember what the input was in order to do like the special super attack where you change over to a robot and it uses your tension meter.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember because it's like it's not guard and triangle plus circle like I would think it is, because that's usually the combination that all these other these other Artdink mecha games would usually go with. Like, holding guard and then pressing a button would typically perform a modified action, which this game surprisingly doesn't do.
Yeah,
again, in an effort to keep
a lot stripped back.
Yeah, but also, as you can see as well, this is another gimmick, one where ranged options are not allowed. Like, you have to use melee, which means that this armored core is completely useless.
Yep.
So, yeah, whatever. We'll just keep punching.
I mean, when you've got fists the size of a city, you don't really need to try too hard.
Yeah. And at least you still have down melee attacks if you use melee on an enemy that is already like knocked to the ground. Just get that big overhead stomp, which it isn't Ideon exclusive as you might think just from looking at it, since that was the first time. Like, there are, as you'll find, going back to the universal nature of this game, there are a lot of animations for stuff like melee that get reused a lot across different units.
Yeah, I can imagine this is a game where almost every mech from a particular series has a lot of crossover. Yeah. Like a lot of the Dunbine, Billbine, and so forth.
Yeah. Okay, I remember what it is now. You have to press X and square at the same time. So it's the other face button combo. That makes sense. But now, as you can see, it obviously...
It's really easy to pull off.
Yeah, but now it's used up all the tension gauge, unfortunately. I feel like if I had known that, I would have tried to hold off just a bit longer to get it to 300%, because it is, 300%, like, the percentage is relatively, like, 100, as you might imagine, is equivalent to if you were to just do that unit super attack with triangle and circle at the same time. 300% is significantly more as such. And I don't think you can... Yeah, I'm pretty positive that you can't use your tension super attack if the percentage is less than 100. Like, the idea is that you have to get to that minimum threshold at the least.
Also, watching the Dunbine there is like, oh my god, he's so tiny!
Yeah.
Like a little carpet beetle.
It is making it very difficult to hit these guys, though. Oh, well, Talburn's a lot better for it. Like, this is, if I had to pick a favorite unit from this entire game, Talburn right here is definitely that. Because when operating at full capacity, it's very nimble. The hitboxes on its laser swords are very wide. And, it has funnels.
Of course it does. I'm gonna go out on a limb and guess that's what the skirt is.
Correct. Yep. God, Star Driver's so fucking fun. Anyway, here's actually a little thing that you get, like, it's basically like a reward for completing certain missions that allow it, where you get access to a free health refill on a unit of your choosing. Obviously, this gets back into the strategy behind, okay, on its surface, that seems like a good thing, but if you are deliberately trying to keep some of your units low health so you can quickly get your tension gauge back up, you know, you don't necessarily want to use it on a unit that's really hurting if it's part of that strategy.
Yeah, I was going to say, I take any unit that runs out of hit points is completely removed. It's not revived at 1%.
Correct. Yeah. Well, it's like, it actually, like, makes you fail the mission if you're, like, playing as that unit and you get depleted to 0 anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna... Yeah, we'll just keep Bonta-kun topped off at least, since it is the since it is the one that hasn't really gotten much of, if any, upgrades. But whatever, we'll try and yeah, because this is another one where it has only one mission objective, which is more of an automatic given. Like Robot 1, like Roboto 1, a bunch of kanji, that's essentially saying, hey, win this and you get a free robot repair for 1 unit. And that said, as much as I'm tempted to try and still get to, like, the end of this particular, like, mission board, I might just, after this one, I'll probably, like, see about just exiting the board and in order to, A, kind of switch off, like, these supersized versions to get it back to more what their normal size is supposed to be, as well as switch to a different board and a different layout, like a different unit order, to kind of show off some of the other units, like, because Zabungle is also, like, another favorite of mine. Hero Man as well. Hero Man's, like, good if you just want a robot that is all about melee attacks, because that's basically what all his skills are. Yeah.
Besides which, because everyone's so tiny next to you, whenever you're doing a melee attack, it's just sweeping over them, and it looks like you're just ruffling their hair affectionately.
Yep. I wanted to just do this. Get a bit more of Bonta-kun.
Of course. Our boy needs his day in the sun.
Fumofu! That's it. I get why.
Multiplayer.
That's
and
it.
Everyone just goes in. If this has multiplayer and everyone just goes in with Bonta-kuns, that would be perfect.
Being Bonta-kun. That said, though, as much as I get why people say that, oh. Yeah, fuck it. Here we go. Look at that giant-ass fucking laser. Alright, enough playing around.
The Yamato called, they want you to give back their cool shit.
Yep. So yeah, you press the button first to deploy the funnels, then you can press them again to fire, like, their lasers. They do have, like, a reload period, you know, after they're depleted and return to, like, your skirt formation. But then you can quickly deploy them again, and then just do this. And this is basically like, once you get access to Talburn, and are upgrading it and making use of its fin funnel ability, as we'll call it, it is a surefire way to guarantee, like, higher survivability in most instances, because you can just do this.
Although without the skirt, it looks more like something that you would build a mech onto. It's so skinny.
Yeah. I mean, it is a very feminine figure.
Very, very, very feminine, very thin, and very angular. Are we sure this doesn't come from from 5-star stories?
I don't know, but it is a perfect fit for a pilot that goes by the title of Galactic Pretty Boy.
Oh, 100%.
For real though, people should watch Star Driver. It's a very interesting show. It is like, especially if if you are in the mood for an anime that it just loves to roll with like super flamboyant, corny designs and like again, like if you just want to follow anything that has even the slightest bit of like work done by people that contributed to Revolutionary Girl Utena.
Yeah, that is a mech that is suffering from terminal dinkiness.
Yeah. It does also have like some pretty fantastic fight scenes, I gotta say. Like well animated ones is the thing. You know, like it's like you look at the character designs or whatever, you might think that's all it has going for it, but no. Like when it comes to the actual fights, when Talburn is going up against like other robots, it's like it is like it's got some very hard shading to it that really sells some of the action.
I know a couple of people that are like heavily into Utena. I might give them a recommendation.
Yeah, because again, people have already gone on about like the obvious parallels with The Witch from Mercury, being basically that but with Gundam. This at least is more like I mean, yeah, that's true. Like this obvious Star Driver obviously is not going to give you like those lesbian undertones, but there's definitely a lot of like pretty boys and like and just like pretty dazzling visuals and whatnot.
Yeah, well, most of the people that I know that like Utena are there for the pretty girls suffering, but you know, if I tell them there's a whole bunch of pretty boys in there as well, they might give it a shot.
Yeah, something like that. Oh yeah, so I also mentioned as far as like stuff on this video, there's obviously, you know, like a shop here, which I've already bought everything. This is where you like buy a lot of units, as well as kind of like a like a gacha system, basically, where you know like little capsules with which this is where you tend to actually get the different attack modules for your units, and it eventually does tap out. Obviously, like the idea is that you know you want to. Like, you have to keep spending more and more money as the odds of getting new stuff get lower and lower. Like, if you played, like, any of the Smash Bros. Games where it's, like, that was an option for acquiring trophies, It's basically the same thing.
I was going to say, I know I've played a couple of games that have done that, where in order to get 100%, you have to start, you know, feeding it with coins. I just couldn't remember what it was.
Yeah. I mean, that's very much a Sakurai thing, if you break it down. That he loves to give his games longevity that way.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Like, longevity and really over-the-top exaggerated, like, hit feedback. Those are definitely his strong suits. I think we could agree.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Yeah, so let's... Yeah, we'll just go to one of the later zones. Yeah, as you can see, like, some of these, like... let's see, what can we do about this? Yeah,
I take it there's not much in the way of alternate skins as well for any of the mechs?
No. Like the units as you see as they are displayed is kind of what you get. So I'm trying to remember like how to like sort through this because it has been a while. Whatever. I'm gonna switch out for the Arbalest. We'll still keep the armored core there for a bit, but let's switch over to... Yeah, there's Hero Man. You know, there's our punchy boy right there. And... Oh yeah, that's right. I still need to find Zabungle. I might have actually passed over it. There it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely has some over-the-top weapons, to say the least. And, we'll add one more at the end of this, and it's going to be the original unit, if I can find it.
Also, if I remember, was the bungle, there was some kind of pun with the fact that it has, like in, I think it's katakana, it uses 3 characters that look very similar but are ever so slightly different.
I'd not be surprised. I would think that is the case.
Yeah.
Again, it is a mecha series that is very comedy oriented, like post Super Robot craze, obviously, because it was an 80s one. Real robot anime was what was in, and Zumbungle's just like a breath of fresh air from that time period of like, yeah, let's just have like some goofy ass shit with giant robots.
Frankly, I think, especially in this day and age, anime could use a lot more goofy-ass shit, which is why I'm so glad that Panty and Stocking's getting a second season.
Yeah. Or just, just more mecha anime in general, because I think it could definitely be said that mecha is anime, and probably the state of where that genre is probably indicative of where the state of the medium is at.
Yeah, also, let's be honest, a lot of mech shows are very serious and very full of themselves. So, something coming along and taking the air out the balloon, definitely needed every now and then.
Yeah, just reminds you how it's like, the world is definitely missing something that the Brave series has basically only lived and ended in the 90s.
Well, yeah, that's another thing which I'm sure we've talked about as well, is that way too many shows, not just in the mech genre but in general, are very much about, well, everyone's morally ambiguous, there's lots of shades of grey, and it's like, yeah, that's cool, but sometimes you just want a show in which the bad guys are really bad, the good guys are really good, and they save the day and the bad guys get punished. The end.
Yeah. And sometimes you can still do it while telling, like, very important moral lessons or dealing with, like, certain themes that are digestible to, like, their younger audience. Like Jade Decker and the times that it deals with the nature of AI.
Gee, I wonder if that's going to be important anytime soon.
Yeah. Why does it have a tiger on its chest? Because it looks cool!
Which kind of brings us back to Nadesco, funnily enough.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they used that justification for some of the paint schemes at one point or another.
Yeah. I mean, Guy calls his unit a Geki Gengar.
Yeah.
he just wants to be in that show just the whole time.
You will never understand the passion that lives in a man's heart, and you just have to deal with it, bitches.
Yeah. It is what it is. Wait, I'm dead. Alright. It's time for Hero Man.
Punchy Fist, activate. Or not.
Yeah. So, as you imagine with, like, this particular unit, we only have 2 types of melee attacks. It's a good thing this mission is not restricting us on what attacks we could use. Gotta give this guy his time to shine.
I completely forgot that he has the stars and stripes on his design. Like, they could not have tried to make this more American.
To be fair, I'd be... Oh yeah, look at that. He's got a fucking elbow drop as his down attack. How sick is that?
He's Dwayne The Rock Johnson if he was a giant robot. And not even that big a robot. I think he's only like 7 foot tall.
Yeah, he's basically like half the size. He's basically like double the size of Joey, the main character. Yeah. And Joey like... Josen or whatever it is. It's like one of those. It's like the Japanese attempt at like, what is a good alliterative English name that like all those comic book characters have? Joey Josen.
Andy America.
Yeah. That's again, it is really fascinating when you just look at Hero Man and watch it and just realize how it is like it's not even, it's not even anything where it's like mocking or coming off as being like so off the mark on what America's like. It feels like such an earnest attempt, by like another country making something that is set in a country and culture different than theirs and making it feel like what they think is authentic.
Yeah,
and it doesn't come off as a joke.
Like, with a lot of these things, it's not like, hey, look at these stupid Americans. It's like, no, you guys literally have guns for sale on every street corner. Like,
yeah,
you don't see that.
Yeah, it's silly, but I mean, whatever. Like, Hero Man's design is definitely like striking and interesting, especially because of how his like winning pose is to like flex his arms in a way that the stars and stripes basically form a perfect circle when viewed from the front. Yeah. It's a very good silhouette.
He definitely, like, especially, you know, having seen Big Hero 6, he looks like a more combat-oriented version of Baymax.
Yeah. Yeah, that
like,
is a good comparison.
Like, he's very different to most other mecha designs in that he doesn't have, like, other than, like, the edges of his armor, he doesn't have any sharp edges to him, which is not something you generally see in any robot series.
Especially modern ones.
Well, and especially in the 2000s where they were like, okay, what if, you know, like, what if we take, and it really felt like it was an attempt to do, like, knight armor, but with a modern military aesthetic to it. Mm-hmm. Like, you look at Code Geass, and everything in that is incredibly angular, incredibly sharp, but you can still be like, yeah, that is recognizably a suit of armor that a knight would wear.
Yeah.
So you get to some of the weirder ones, which are their own thing.
Yeah, it's like the Nightmare frames are not like my favorite mecha design just because they do bear a lot of things that kind of make me not interested in the way modern mechas look, but like the Knight analogs, you know, be considering that, like, if there's the fucking Kingdom of Britannia, like, it makes sense.
Yep. I mean, they've got a mech called the Glasgow.
Yeah.
Of course I'm gonna, like, I live in Glasgow, of course I'm gonna naturally gravitate towards show with that in it. But, yeah, because that was, like,
never mind the fact that Britannia themselves are fucking culture erasing assholes.
And American, but, you know, we'll leave that one to the side.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thing was that was like the big non-Gundam series of the 2000s. So like everyone started taking their cues from that. And everything just wound up really angular and sharp and weird looking for a while.
Yeah. Like Gundam definitely had that as well. You know, the 2000s. Whole lot.
Yeah.
Just that kind of like I always kind of derisively referred to it as stick figures with stained glass for armor.
Yep. Although it's kind of interesting that Reconquista NG went completely the opposite direction. And everything
it's a lot more rounded designs in that one.
Yeah. Like, I love one of the minion mechs, the Grimoire, because it just has this sort of weird dome head that looks like it's got a little beret on its head. And, like, you don't see that in mech shows at all, before or since. And it just looks really, like, all the designs in it, they're still recognizably Gundam suits, but they just look so different, it's really appealing.
So this is how the super move for Hero Man goes, since he does not have any, you know, ranged attacks. It just makes him super powered up, which is not too dissimilar from how he already gets in his source material.
Yeah.
Although I believe in the anime, like when he's like supercharged and pissed off, like he takes on more of a red color. That was just the general blue aura. Because again, universal gameplay systems. Like if there's other melee focused units like him in this game, they kind of are abiding by that same rule.
Wayne the Mech Johnson doing the people's elbow again.
Yeah. I do need to get back to actually watching all the way to the end of Hero Man, though, past the few episodes I did. Because it definitely was interesting, but I'm sidetracked. I'm still working through J. Decker, and also the fact that, like, I started watching original Mobile Suit Gundam for the first time.
Yep.
Whole lot of mecha anime on my plate. It never stops.
Yeah, and for me, G Gundam finally gets its UK release this month, so I'm going to be picking that up.
Is so good, yeah.
Yep, I love that show. I have not watched it in about 10 years, and I love it with all my heart. It's just the first half, that's getting released, and I think the second half comes out January or February. So I'm going to be picking that up as well. But yeah, so excited, so looking forward to it.
Definitely enjoy that. You deserve it.
As I said, like we never got. This is like the first release of it at the very least in the UK. I don't know if Europe in general, but we never even got a DVD release of it.
Wow.
Never got. It was one of those shows that we got Gundam Wing over here. But like we never got. Really, for a long time, the only anime the Cartoon Network showed over here was Dragon Ball and Gundam Wing. We never got anything else.
All right, we're back again. This fucking piece of shit. OBS crashing.
Yep.
Oh man.
What was I saying? Yeah. So we only got Dragon Ball Z and Gundam Wing on Cartoon Network, and we get stuff like Sailor Moon and Digimon on Fox Kids. That was about it for a long time. So as I said, like we never got any of the good stuff. We didn't get Outlaw Star for years.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I was. It was about 3 or 4 years until we got a channel called CNX, which eventually turned into basically a Toonami channel, and that started showing stuff like Outlaw Star, Cowboy Bebop, and all that kind of stuff. But again, this was like years after the fact. But yeah, none of the good stuff for us. So I didn't get to see G Gundam probably until about 2006, 2007.
All right.
So looking forward to revisiting that one.
Definitely. Still the best Gundam series.
Oh, 100%. As I said, like, all my favorite Gundam shows are the ones which aren't anything to do with the Universal Century.
Yeah. And even then, like, the amount I spent from, like, watching original Gundam starting out, because, again, I made a point that I was going to watch the original TV anime instead of the compilation movies or whatnot. That's still pretty good, even with, like, the jank-ass fucking off-model mobile suits, because I feel like that's part of the charm in and of itself.
Of which there is a lot.
There is a lot. Like, my favorite observation was realizing that that original Gundam and Macross have, like, the inverse problem from each other, where the character models, like, the human characters in Gundam all look consistently great, but the mecha are just off-model and whack. But in Macross, all the mecha look fantastic, like standing still, in action, anything, but just you run into so many off-model instances with just the human characters in that show. It's hilarious.
The thing with Macross is that the thing which I always noticed was that the mechs feel like they have weight, but the humans don't. There's lots of floaty movement with the humans. And it's like, I know that they're meant to be working in reduced gravity, but come the fuck on.
I mean, there's also the funny thing where it's just like, because of the production of Macross and just how hard they were working, because they were a bunch of like dumb, like young people in their young 20s that were anime fans, and be like, we get to make our own anime. That, like, you could see the moments when the production was starting to slip in quality because, oh, that animator got sick. Oh, that animator got sent to the hospital. Oh, that person's having mental issues. Oh God. Oh fuck. People are working way too hard. We don't have Itano on hand to draw us our Macross missile massacres. What do we do?
Oh, this is the episode that was literally done by one person because everyone else was in the infirmary from overworking.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, it's like, Jesus Christ, have better working conditions, please. The fact that that was even still a problem back in the 80s. And we still have it now.
Guys, you're making the people who worked on the original Gundam look like they were on vacation. Settle the fuck down. Take a break. Breathe.
Man, the original Macross definitely needs... I feel like it needs its Gundam Sosei treatment the same way that
100%.
Original Gundam got.
Like, well, I mean, speaking of Gundam Sosei, I'm amazed at the fact that that got a Western release for starters.
Yeah, considering some of the real inside stuff that it kind of gets into that are, like, based more on, like you know, kind of urban legends and in jokes about, like, the production of that like would not be apparent to really anyone unless they were around when Gundam was airing for the first time in the early days of its popularity.
Yeah, or like obviously some of the more obvious stories, like Sailor Mass's nipples are pink, which we've all heard.
Yes.
Which I remember when I told you that, you were like, "Shut the fuck up," and it was like, "Swear to God, swear to God."
It's like her nipples are pink, they should be lighter. Hangs up the phone.
Yeah. And as I said, like, the book actually has a disclaimer at the beginning to the effect of some of the stuff has been exaggerated for comedy, but we swear that it's all true.
Yeah.
I just love that to bits. But
it's so silly. Yeah.
Like, there needs to be a lot of, like, I would love to, not just for Macross, I would love to see Evangelion get that treatment as well, because the stories of that, like, the stories of the production of Evangelion are legend. Like the story of Hideki Anno, when he finished production, shaved all the hair off his body.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's true. I can believe it, which I'm not sure who that says more about.
I mean, I still obviously remember the fact that, you know, they received actual death threats from viewers over the final 2 episodes, that you see brief glimpses of them in the latter half of End of Evangelion.
Yep. And although apparently it has come out over the last couple of years that it wasn't so much death threats as it was people being like, "You didn't end this show the way I liked, and that made me really sad."
Yeah, but there were still the occasional letter that just explicitly said, "I'll kill you."
Yeah. And the footage that was apparently drawings by disturbed children, apparently that wasn't true either. It was literally stuff that they'd done in their breaks, which kind of worrying in its own way, but you know.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
But yeah, just I would love to see something like that done for Evangelion, just to see how much of the stories that we've all heard of are true. Yeah, I would bet it's somewhere between all of them and more than we'd like to admit.
I think we actually hit our first soft lock.
Oh.
You know what? That could be it for today, I think.
Yeah, let's all enjoy. Let's enjoy the end of the cursed stream.
Yeah, we still had some fun discussions, all things considered.
Oh hell yeah, it's always fun just nattering about this shit endlessly.
Yeah, especially just again thinking about God, how great it would be to kind of have like more of those insane sort of biographical mangas about the creation of like really like famous or like important anime series. I mean, like, because Gundam obviously got it, Macross deserves it, as well as Ava. I think personally, especially with how I've been going through a lot of the Brave series this year, I think I would especially like to see that, considering how I think that would be a good venue to kind of elaborate a bit more on what I guess what Sunrise's beef was with Takara, like around the time that they made Might Guy.
I imagine the one based on Hayao Miyazaki would be incredibly depressing.
Oh,
it would be like Apocalypse Now, but with cute manga and anime characters every 3 pages.
I was thinking more the opposite, where it'd be like a hyper detailed, depressing looking like manga art, but just the subject matter is all super positive and lighthearted.
Either way, it would be terrifying.
Have it drawn by Junji Ito.
Oh god, that would be perfect, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Or
So,
oh god, what's that one really famous Guru manga artist? Shit, that's gonna bug me now. But he does like super hyper detailed gore.
oh yeah.
And yeah, just that, and every so often it's like her name is Kiki, and it's like, oh yeah, back to the horror.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Perfect.
We
Cut.
love mecha anime. At the very least, this stream is just yet more proof of how much we love it, even when things are going wrong. Hopefully, at least for the remaining streams for this series, that we don't have it any more instances where my router decides to just like self reboot itself and like
Yeah.
lose connection for 5 minutes or so.
As I said, like when it happened, I was like, okay, let's bring up YouTube, make sure it's not me. Okay,
Yeah.
it's not me. Oh shit, it's not me.
Oh
Fuck.
shit. Oh no.
Oh,
And
we
to
are
think
totally
that was my
screwed.
only worry. That was like, oh, it's not OBS being the problem. And then
No.
later it decided to be the problem.
And then the game crashed, and then everything was terrible forever.
Yeah. To be fair though, the soft lock playing this, I knew the risk with that because I had to deal with it a lot when I was playing this game like months and months ago, building up that save file to unlock every single unit. Which,
Yeah.
the fact like, because it shows like your total playtime, the fact that I was able to get to that point in around 30 hours, considering how long in the tooth the post-game and Artdink's games can get, that was definitely a lot. That was definitely a lot leaner than I expected it to. So you know what? I don't feel too bad about it. I'm glad I have this to mess around with. Whereas, as opposed to Macross, where it's like, yeah, I'm just downloading a save for this.
Yeah.
And Gundam as well.
Well, I mean, those games are so much more granular.
Yeah.
There's just so much. Like it's those two have like unlocks that you need to unlock in order to unlock things.
Mm-hmm.
Which always been kind of an annoyance for me, like the double or triple unlock.
Yeah, like even the time it takes to get a unit, like all the tune points it needs to upgrade all of its categories to max, doesn't take nearly as long in Battle Robot Damashii, especially because of how, like with those mission board setups and the fact that you have different rewards. Some of those rewards include like percentage increases to like your final payouts when you get to the end and beat the boss. So if you know exactly which mission routes will give you like the biggest payout on tuning points, you could just play those out, and it won't feel nearly as exhausting as it would be if you were to just, okay, here's a list of like 3 viable missions that you could just replay endlessly to get the most amount of money, and those always end up being way more tiring as opposed to just do a mini campaign of like different missions, because at least even if it's the same thing, you're still getting a variety of objectives. I don't know. It's still a very fascinating game. Again, it's not often that you get something like this where like its main point of inspiration is a toy line that's still ongoing, by the way, and has actually seen multiple revisions. Like there's all kinds of new sublines out there, as well as like improved build quality. Like apparently, like I based on like what history is able to dig up, like the Robot Spirit line actually had a bit of notoriety in terms of like kind of shoddy build quality, because the whole idea was to be like provide a line of mecha figures for people that didn't have the money to spend on the DX Chogokin line.
Yeah, like even the cheapest ones, which were still like meant to be like $70-$80. They were supposed to be like essentially close to screen accurate with functioning transformations if any of them had them. And like I've mostly just been looking for figures for the shows that I like, but every so often I'll be like, that's actually really nice. It also costs about as much as my last PC, so we'll move swiftly on.
Yeah.
And yeah, some of the complaints, people are just like, I kind of wish I just stuck with Revoltech because they were like a third the price, and
Yeah.
they had they like when you put them in a certain pose. Because the thing that I saw coming up repeatedly was the elbows and the knees.
Mm-hmm.
The joints there had a tendency to fail quite dramatically,
Yeah,
and people
Revoltech
just
was
being like,
just like on another level. Like they were the go-to for figures during that time.
yeah, and people just being like, when I put what was it when I posed my Revoltech, it would keep that pose for months, if not years on end. With these
Mm-hmm.
ones, I constantly have to readjust the arms and, like prop them up a little bit more because they're falling over, and that's really pissing me off.
Yeah, but at least the Robot Spirits line did get better over time, especially as they introduced new sublines and things like that. There was even one that I found that was actually like quite amusing to learn about. I didn't see like actual images of it. It was just mostly like kind of like talked about, but I think there was like a special subline of the Robot Spirits that was based on not just original Gundam, but baited so that the models actually resembled how off-model and weird the mobile suits looked in the anime.
Holy shit,
Which I think that's a hell of a gimmick to sell your model on. Like that definitely appeals to someone.
that is commitment. And like I know it's well, primarily in Japan, mech enthusiasts go the extra mile.
Oh
Like
yeah.
if that wasn't a convention limited like exclusive, I would be amazed.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yeah,
holy shit.
because some of those shots in like so many of them in Mobile Suit Gundam are like like in modern terms today, like those are some meme worthy screen caps.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because I primarily just watched the movies, but I mean we've all seen the weird poses and the stretched out faces.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Oh well. That was fun for what it was. Thanks for joining again on this, Kaboom.
Always fun.
Yeah. Look forward to the next year, the Mecha stream this Wednesday. So we play Armored Core Verdict Day. Millennium Cyborg will be back for that. We'll see the end of like the whole 5th gen saga for Armored Core. The last mecha game from Soft ever created. All right.
I feel like you're missing one or two games there, but I'm not going to push that any further than I need to.
No, yeah, I think I'm right. Yeah, because I remembered. Yeah, Mobile Suit Gundam Unicorn was before, like, it was in between 5 and Verdict Day.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be the one to correct you.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. So that'll be the last one for November, and then it won't be long until December starts, and we'll be right in the end game for Year of the Mecha. The end's in sight. Things are gonna get exciting. Just you people wait. All right. Thanks again to everyone that watched this, or especially anyone, or at least anyone that possibly catches the Stitch Together VOD afterwards, because I'm pretty sure that all these interruptions kind of like lost a few viewers or whatever, but it's, man, oh, fuck it, what can you do?
It'll be a great 27-minute video.
All right. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Later.
Game over.